today. Hello baby babes. Hello my lovelies, today I'm going to be talking about books I'm actually going to unhaul. Now I don't actually actually get rid of my books very often. I consider myself a book collector as much as I am a book reader, probably even more so a book collector. But recently there have been some books that I've accumulated that I just don't want to keep for various different reasons, so I'm going to be going through them with you today. The first being The Casual Vacancy by She Who Will Not Be Named. And I don't want to associate with J.K. Rowling anymore. I don't think she's a nice person. I do not associate with the views that she has. And as much as I really want to keep hold of the wizarding world, I want to get rid of her out of my life as much as possible. It's a hard dilemma because I want to enjoy the wizarding world, and the wizarding world will always be a huge part of my childhood, mostly from the movies, and I will always love the characters and the world that has been built, but I just do not like the creator in any way. I do not agree with her views at all. This is not a book that I've spent money on. I get given a lot of books from like my mum's friend. Every time they want to get rid of books, they just send the pile over to me and I integrate them into my collection and see which ones I want to keep. And I thought I was going to keep this to read, but I don't want to be associated with anything by She Who Will Not Be Named that isn't Harry Potter related. So I didn't spend money on this, and it's actually a £20 hardback. £20 for an adult fiction hardback, when this 800-page ginormous fantasy book that has extra little details with extra decorations in it because of the stunning maps and the beautiful illustrations, which The Casual Vacancy does not have, is £17, and this is £20. Her books seem to be uppriced a lot. I know she's got a children's book coming out, a hardback children's book. I mean, why would you hardback a children's book as its first release? That is also coming out at £20, so dodgy. So I'm so relieved that I didn't actually spend money on this, and none of my money is going to be going to She Who Will Not Be Named from having this book. And after the things she said, I do not want to be associated with her all, as much as I want to keep the Wizarding World, and this is not Wizarding World related, so I've just plucked it off my shelf where it's been sitting for like a good year or so, and I'm going to be giving it away because I don't want anything to do with this very mean millionaire woman anymore. I've been loving the memes though, where people have been crossing out the name on the Harry Potter books and been saying that they've been written by Hagrid, or that they were written by Hermione or Emma Watson. I saw somebody actually say they were written by Britney Spears, so I'm loving the memes that have come out of this. So as far as I'm concerned, they don't belong to her anymore. They belong to the fandom because her horrible views invalidate her. The next few books are books that I had to read for university that I could not stand, and that is The Story of the Glittering Crane by William Morris. And I'm upset that I didn't like this because this is considered one of the first ever written fantasy books, and I did kind of enjoy William Morris's other book, his Utopia book, News from Nowhere, and I'm keeping that because I did enjoy parts of that quite a bit, but I could not get through this. It was so dry, it was so technical, because you could see that he was trying to take Norse inspiration, but it was too obvious and too like methodical, and it just didn't pull together as a story, and I really hated getting my way through it, so that is definitely going. The next book is 20,000 Streets Under the Sky, and that is actually all of Patrick Hamilton's 3 books that are in this trilogy. We had to read The Midnight Bell, which is the first book in this trilogy, and I thought that by getting all 3 books in one that I might actually enjoy it and continue on reading and read all 3 books eventually in my own time, but oh my god, I did not like the characters, I did not like the story, I thought it was just going nowhere, and I really struggled to get through it, and it was one of the worst books I read that year. It's one of the last books I read that year. I think it might have been 2018 or something like that, but oh no, did not like. The next university book that I really did not like was The Expedition of Humphrey Clinker by Tobias Smollett, and I actually DNF'd this book. It was from a module on 17th century literature, which I had to take in order to fill up the So Many Starred module, so it wasn't a module that I would have picked for myself, and it's a module that I think I liked the least out of all the modules I did at university. It's written in letter form, which is so tedious because these letters will be several pages long, but you don't know who they're from until you get to the end of it, and you have to keep flicking back and and the whole story's told like this. And it's about this sort of story of these people going to Bath for some sort of retreat. I don't know. I can't remember. I hated it. I DNF'd it. I don't DNF books very often. I try to push through for university just in case there's a good essay out of it, because sometimes the books you hate the most are some of the best essay topics, but no. I don't think many people got through this book, and I don't want to keep it. Another surprising set of books that I had to read for university are these Mills and Boons books, although I actually only did get through one. I only actually managed to read the Shakes Royal Baby Revelation. Mills and Boon are mass market romance books, and we were reading these because we were doing a module on pulp fictions in medieval England, so we were reading Middle English romance, and Middle English romance can be considered the pulp fiction or the popular fiction of the time, and so the pulp fiction or quick, fast-moving, fast-market fiction of our time are these sort of shitty romance books. I shouldn't say shitty because I actually had a new appreciation for the writers of these books after doing the module. We actually had a author of one of Mills and Boon's books come in to talk to us, and it turns out that people who write these mass market romances have to write really quick. They write several books a year, and they're always employed because there is a demand for it. So even though they're not considered very critical literature or very good literature, they're getting paid and they're employed and they're churning out these books like hell. So I found a newfound appreciation for it, but I'm not going to be keeping them. I'm never going to come back to them. They vary in degrees of smut, and I actually do like to read some smut. I like my sex scenes to actually be integrated into some good stories. That's why I love Sarah J. Maas. She writes good smut, but then also there's good fantasy along with it. And I just think I can find better sex scenes in books that have really good stories. And apparently Serpent and Dove and Crescent City are going to be like that. So I'm not going to keep these. These were Cinderella's Secret Royal Fling, and they're Inherited Triplets, 2 books in one. Another one that's 2 books in one was The Debt and Cross My Heart, and then also Shakes Royal Baby Revelation, so I ain't keeping these. I can find just as good sex scenes in YA books, A Court of Frost and Starlight pretty much just being like fan service sex scenes added onto the Court of Thorns and Roses series, so I can find it whilst having a good story to go along with it. Another university book that I'm getting rid of, this is not one that was on the required reading list, this is just one that I was looking into for my dissertation on the atomic bombs, and that is Empire of the Sun by J.G. Ballard. Ballard's writing is notoriously hard to get into, and by God, it was so dry. I didn't feel like anything was happening in this. It is a novelised version of Ballard's own childhood in Japanese occupied wartime Shanghai, and apparently you could see the mushroom cloud of the atomic bomb from Shanghai, which is why I picked it up, and it is on the cover, but oh my God, it actually was only just a tiny little section of it. It took half a book to get there, and I read some of it. I flicked to the bit that had the atomic bomb, realised there's absolutely nothing descriptive that I could even use, and no, I had to DNF it. That's one of the few books that I actually DNF'd last year. I just couldn't do it. Ballard's writing is inaccessible and nothing was happening in the story. The next few books are books I've read for myself over the years I'm going to get rid of. The first being 13 by Tom Hoyle. I remember reading this, like, it must have been like 3-4 years ago, because I remember it was when we were taking my nan back into for her eye appointments in Abergele. So I read this a lot in the hospital waiting for my nan's eye appointments, but I don't know, I just didn't like it, man. I thought I was going to like it because it's about cults. It's about this cult that thinks people who were born at midnight on the new millennium must die before the end of their 13th year. And 12 of these 13 have been killed so far. So it's meant to be this big cult adventure. But of course, Adam's like 12 and a bit, almost 13, and he's running away. And I'm just thinking, where the fuck are the parents in all of this? Like, how is this kid getting away with all these things? This does not seem realistic enough to actually be happening. No, it just didn't seem realistic. As you know, you're getting old when you're starting to agree that where the hell are the parents in the story, and you want to know what the adult's doing to stop this from happening. And it just wasn't sinister. It didn't feel realistic to me, and I think I've been holding on to it because I knew there were actually 3 others in the series, and that they are pretty and sprayed edges, and also because it's got a very solid memory because I was reading it at a point in time where my nan was having this big operation on her eye, so that's like a very solid memory in my head. So I think I was keeping it because of that and hoping that I might get to the other books and realise that I like it. But no, I've matured even more in my reading style since then, and I don't think I'm gonna like it now if I didn't like it back then, years and years ago. Another book that I've been keeping around simply because I collect books is Nick Hornsby's About a Boy, and we actually read this, I think, for my GCSE English, so this was years and years and years ago. About a Boy is about this 36-year-old man who thinks he's so cool, and he goes to this single parents group to meet single parents, to date them for a while and then dump them and move on. But he becomes attached to this one little boy called Marcus, who's this 12-year-old boy who's a bit strange, and his mum's going through some stuff. And it is a bit strange because it's about how this 36-year-old man, Will, is having his friendship with this 12-year-old boy, Marcus, and I just wasn't engaged with it. And the ending was one of the most anticlimactic endings in a book ever. This is one of the instances where the movie completely changes the ending, and the movie is so much better. The movie is fantastic, but the book is just, flatlines. So I can't remember if this was GCSE or it might have actually been year 9, but I think I was keeping this around because it's one of the first times we actually had to read a book in full for English in school, and the English teacher that taught it, I love her. She's absolutely lovely. She completely influenced the way I am today, so I think that's why I was keeping it around. But I realised that I am completely a hoarder and I'm running out of space for books, so I need to sacrifice some. And knowing full well that I didn't like this ending and I have no interest in reading any other Nick Hornby books, that I've got to let it go. It just has to go. Even though I don't like the book, I do really recommend watching the movie because it is funny and heartwarming and has a lot nicer ending than the book does. The next book that I really didn't like and I'm getting rid of for that reason is Say 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 by Lila Savage. It's meant to be about this carer called Ella who gets this new job working for Bryn, and she's looking after Bryn's wife Jill. Nothing happens in this book, really. It's about Ella and Jill, the lady who has actually had this brain injury and now needs care in her old age, gets like no storyline and no plot. She doesn't get developed at all. She's just pushed into the background, and we're just in Ella's mind all the time about things that just don't seem too relevant to her caring for this elderly woman. We don't even find much about where the brain injury happened or why Jill says say, say, say. It just all felt disconnected and only half of a story, so I'm passing this one on. And then I have 4 books that I'm just getting rid of because I actually have 2 copies of them. The first being Lemony Snicket's The Unauthorized Autobiography, that's connected to a series of unfortunate events, and I've actually already got a copy of this when I bought the whole set on eBay off secondhand. The next is The Maze Runner. I haven't actually read the Maze Runner series yet. I've just been collecting the books because they're the sort of things you see in a charity shop a lot, and you know that this is a big series that people are talking about, so it turns up in the charity shop. So I've been collecting them up, but I haven't actually read them yet, and I just happen to have 2 copies, so I'm getting rid of the much more battered one and keeping the nicer looking one. Next is Michael Morpurgo's Shadow, and that is because one of my great aunts actually gave me the hardback version, so I'm keeping the hardback and giving away the paperback. Lastly is The Word for Woman is Wilderness by Abby Andrews, and this is because I actually got it as a dupe. I got it in a Books That Matter box, and I also got this version again in the Books That Matter stocking, so I'm keeping the version that I read from the box, which I've annotated and highlighted all over because I really did enjoy it, but I've now got this second copy, so I'm giving the clean, nice, uninterrupted second copy away. So those are all the books that I'm unhauling. They'll be going to a charity shop as soon as it's possible to do so, but for now I'm taking them off my shelves, and I don't unhaul books very often, and I'm not really sad to see any of these go because they're either duplications of books I already own or they're books I really did not like. So thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.